Why Gunn Superman is a hit and Superman Returns bombed. Guys, I have my own theories, but I'm really curious what Mr. Headcanon is going to say. Let's check it out.
James Gunn's Superman and Superman Returns have a lot in common. In both movies, we see a hero who brings back the classic values, who tries to teach you how to be a better person, and who...
Well, I mean, he did kind of get a woman pregnant and leave in Superman Returns, so I don't know about classic values.
Wears a colorful suit with his underwear on the outside. In both versions, Lex Luthor sneaks into the Fortress of Solitude and tries to become the king of a brand new country. Both
That's called inspiration, guys, not stealing.
Movies end with Superman smiling at the camera. But when it comes to box office numbers and how people reacted to the films, the results were totally different. Gunn's Superman was loved by critics, fans, and even casual viewers. With over $600 million at the box office,
in America, for sure.
It's already a hit. It's making money for Warner, and it's a strong start for a brand new DC universe. Gunn is already promoting Supergirl, and he said he's working on the next project.
Guys, I can't wait for Supergirl. Look, I got Woman of Tomorrow. When I read this, be looking out for it. I'll do a review on it, and I'll talk about my thoughts. Can't wait for the movie to come out.
Projects in the Superman saga. On the other hand, Superman Returns barely made $391 million back in 2006. Warner couldn't make back what they spent, so they called it a flop and canceled all plans for a sequel. But why was one a hit while the...
Yeah, I remember people said, they say this with every Superman movie, but they said it cost like $360 million to make, even though that wasn't the reported budget. But they said the same thing about Man of Steel. They said the same thing about Superman 2025. So who knows how much these things actually cost.
Other bombed. There are 3 reasons that explain it. The first one is how Superman was portrayed. Because if you don't like the main character in a superhero movie, it's pretty hard to get into the story. Bryan Singer decided his Superman would be as close as possible to Christopher Reeve's version. That's why Routh plays him as a stoic, super serious hero who always...
I think that was a smart move. But I also think that because he did that, he really locked himself in, and anything he tried to do outside of the Christopher Reeve bounds wasn't going to work.
He does the right thing and almost never makes mistakes. He doesn't really show emotions because Singer wanted to present an ideal and a role model instead of someone we could relate to.
Well, now Christopher Reeve showed a lot of emotions. So if that's what he was going for, he missed the mark.
When he comes back to Earth, Superman finds out the love of his life got married to someone else, had a kid, and even published an article saying the world doesn't need him anymore. And Routh's only reaction is accidentally breaking a photo frame.
That's it?
Well, he had to hold it in. It's not like he could just start laser eyeing her desk or something. I mean, I don't think that was weird.
Clark doesn't question what he should do with his life, doesn't seem sad about losing his girlfriend, and doesn't even wonder if he should keep being Superman or not. It's not just that he doesn't have a character arc where he grows as a person. He doesn't even react to stuff like a normal person would.
Is that right, guys? Put it in the comments if you agree with that. If Clark didn't react to stuff like a normal person. I feel like as Clark, he was having to react things for Superman, and that meant that he wasn't able to show it the way he should show it. And I think Brandon Routh was very early in his career, and he was being directed by Bryan Singer, you know, so there's a whole lot of like wheels turning there. Because if you watch Brandon Routh in the CW crossover, God, that was a good Superman.
Not sure if it's obvious, but this isn't exactly my favorite version of Superman. Still, I've got to admit that Singer's idea wasn't totally off, since some comic writers do show Superman this way. The problem was, it just didn't fit with what people were used to seeing in the mid-2000s. In Batman Begins, Raimi's Spider-Man, Fox's X-Men, and even Tim Story's Fantastic Four, we saw heroes who were human, made mistakes, struggled, and felt real.
Yeah, I would say Brandon Routh did seem a little inhuman. But I thought it went well because he was like the alien trying to find, you know, people like him, and he couldn't, and he's back at Earth, and he's not like these people, so it kind of worked, you know.
Bruce might have been rich, but he was trying to find his place in life after losing his parents.
Yeah.
He was almost consumed by revenge and had to decide whether or not to kill. Peter had love problems, argued with his aunt, and was broke. Every single one of Singer's X-Men had personal issues, like being discriminated against, not knowing their past, or not being able to kiss their partner. Even the Fantastic Four had family drama and struggled.
Stan Lee's really good at coming up with trials for his superheroes.
With their looks. Audiences wanted to see human heroes who felt like them, but Singer gave them a role model that felt outdated, distant, and boring. It also didn't help that Routh wasn't nearly as charismatic as Reeve. You only see him smile a couple of times, and instead of coming off as a nice guy, he feels more like an emotionless robot. This wasn't the actor's fault, though.
I don't know. I never really felt like he seemed emotionless, just like he didn't seem like he was, you know, he wasn't screaming.
We've seen in Crisis on Infinite Earths and Legends of Tomorrow that Routh can actually be pretty charismatic. The problem was how they told him to act, which made him seem really stiff.
You robot!
Korn's Superman, on the other hand, is as human as it gets. Sure, he's from another planet and has
that was unexpected, guys.
crazy powers, but throughout the whole movie, we see him feeling emotions like any regular person. While the robots in the fortress take care of him, he chills out listening to an audio message from his parents to distract himself from the pain of his injuries.
I like
Then he
that.
gets mad at Krypto for wrecking the whole house, but right before leaving, he feels bad because the dog looks sad.
I like
Clark
that.
also argues with his girlfriend, gets mad at Luthor when he kidnaps the dog.
I'm understanding the last speech with Luthor more. The more you guys tell me in the comments, and I've actually had some times when I've felt pretty weak since that movie came out, and I just happened to see that scene in a weak moment, and I resonated with it better. So even though I still don't feel like that scene was totally needed at the end there, that speech was Lex, I'm starting to get it because I actually resonated with it at a point where it kind of made me a little emotional, you know? So I think I wasn't there with him is what it was. I think I wasn't there with him whenever I first saw that part. So I maybe the movie didn't guide me there, or maybe I just, wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but I still, that speech, I'm not 100% on board, but I'm more on board than I was, guys.
Yells when Lex brutally executes someone, and we see him genuinely happy when Lois says she loves him. Gunn even gave him a whole arc where he questions whether he should keep being a superhero, because it turns out his parents wanted him to become Omni-Man.
I felt like that scene was more about him questioning that he was following who he thought he was. He's like, I'm not who I thought I was. You know, I don't think it was about him deciding, oh, I'm not a superhero anymore. I think it was more about like, I thought that I was sent here to save people and to help people and to be, a guiding source of good. I'm not that. That's not what I am. I was never sent as that. That's how I took it.
Key is that this new Superman feels like a regular person who happens to have godlike powers, while Routh's Superman felt like a god pretending to be a regular person. Both takes are valid, but it's clear that Gunn's version...
I would agree with that a little bit. I don't know. I don't like the word pretending, but fitting in is how I would say it. He's more like a deity-like person that's just trying to fit in. He doesn't, but he's trying,
Version is more fun, more emotional, and it helps casual viewers fall in love with the character because they can actually relate to him. But this can't be the only reason one movie worked and the other didn't. Reeves' Superman was also a role model like Routh's, and people absolutely loved him. That brings us to the second reason, continuity. If people don't understand whether they're watching a sequel, a prequel, or a whole new universe...
Guys, that scene right there to this day is my favorite Superman. I love the kaiju fight in Superman 2025, but that plane scene... To me, it shows who Superman is. It looks fantastic. That's a great scene. It really is. I haven't found anything above it yet. And if you think of something that's better than that plane scene in the 2025, put it in the comments because I might agree with you if I realize that I've kind of looked over something.
It's hard for the movie to work because you're already walking into the theater feeling confused.
I don't understand.
Right from the lead up to its release, the continuity of Superman Returns was super messy. The trailers made it seem like a direct sequel to the Donner movies, with new actors but continuing the same story.
Well, it was, but to 1 and 2, assuming 3 and 4 didn't exist. That's what it was.
Scenes straight out of Superman 1, like Clark and Lois flying over the water, and Superman smiling at the camera. They brought back John Williams' classic theme and reused Marlon Brando's lines from the first movie.
True.
Singer gave the whole film a retro vibe, keeping modern stuff like cell phones, computers, and new TVs or cars to a minimum. Back then, social media was
a boy used a cell phone to take an iconic picture of Brandon Routh holding a Mustang over his head, and that was sent in to Perry, and Perry used it instead of what Jimmy had. I don't know that cell phones weren't in there much. What's-her-face's Kate Bosworth's cell phone, I think her battery went out. Cell phones were very present. Like, I'm not quite sure I agree with what he's saying there.
Still just starting out. But if you look at fan forums from that time, you'll find tons of debate.
By the way, guys, if you like Mr. Headcanon and want to see more of his videos, this video is tagged in the description. Don't forget to also check out in the description my Amazon store where you can find all sorts of Superman stuff in one spot. No extra cost to you. It's just easier to shop and easier to find. You're welcome.
It's where no one...
Oh, and subscribe.
...could agree on whether Superman Returns was a follow-up to the Donner films or part of some alternate universe. It didn't help that DC dropped a prequel comic a few months after the movie came out, where Luthor and Lois...
I have the movie comic. I do not have the prequel.
...recap the events of Superman 1, word for word. So, supposedly, Superman Returns was meant to be an official sequel, but weirdly, the characters acted like Superman 2 never happened. To make things even...
No. No, that's incorrect. it was as if Superman 3 and 4 never happened. Superman 2 had to happen because she lays with Superman in 2, and that's why he has the kid in 3. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is more of a Superman 2.5.
Messier, that same year, Warner released the Donner cut of Superman 2, which changed a bunch of key things from the theatrical version. For example, at the end of the Donner cut, Superman turns back time so Lois never finds out his secret identity, which means they never did yummy stuff in the fortress, because that timeline got erased. But in Superman Returns, they tell us Lois's kid is actually Superman's. That makes no sense, unless Clark somehow got her pregnant by staring at her.
All right, that all happened in Superman 2. I think you just got a little mixed up there.
It's one of my powers.
He's got to stop with the little Brandon Routh head memes. They're killing me.
It also didn't help that Superman left Earth off screen, even though at the end of Superman 2, he promised he'd never leave humanity alone again. Turns out, Singer wanted a loose continuity with the first movie to tap into nostalgia.
And again, I think he got mixed up there because he said, no, Superman 2 never happened. Then he just referenced what he said at the end of Superman 2. So I think he got mixed up there. But yeah, Superman 2 did happen for Brandon Routh's Superman, but 3 and 4 is like a Superman 2.5, basically.
Nostalgia, but he didn't really care about keeping the canon consistent. The best way to look at it is that Superman Returns takes place in some alternate timeline where the Reeve movies kind of happened, but not exactly how we remember them. If that's already confusing for us, just imagine how casual viewers felt. I remember sitting in the theater and feeling super lost during the first 20 minutes, because it wasn't clear if this was part of the Donner continuity with new actors, or just something brand new that was only paying tribute to the old films.
Yeah, if you're going to go Donner, you got to go full Donner. You've got to assume all the movies happened. You've got to assume, give references to those things and not twist up anything, because people that, I don't know if y'all remember, but he went Brandon Routh because people loved Christopher Reeve so much. He went the Christopher Reeve route with Brandon Routh. Then Man of Steel came out, and the Reeve people weren't happy that Man of Steel wasn't like Christopher Reeve, but they didn't like Superman Returns, which was like Christopher Reeve. So Superman's a very divisive character for people.
I had to come up with my own headcanon where this was a whole new universe, and then I could roll with it. But your aunt didn't get anything at all.
Like I used his name.
People didn't even know if they were supposed to watch the Donner films before seeing this one. All that confusion made fans talk about the movie, which worked as free publicity. But at the same time, it pushed away casual viewers who just wanted to enjoy a good Superman story without having to figure all this stuff out.
Probably
to be fair, Gunn's movie also had a pretty messy setup because of the whole chaos with the old DCU. Plus, they used John Williams' theme in the trailers again, which could have confused some people. Just like
they didn't just use his theme, though. They changed it and updated it and made it modern in a way that I've seen a lot of these reaction videos of people reacting to the new Superman movie, and they've never seen any Superman movies, and they're like, man, this music is awesome. They wouldn't think that about the original Superman theme, most likely, because he updated it in a very epic way. I really like the way he honored the John Williams theme.
It did with Superman Returns. But right from the very first teaser, they made it clear that this was something new, with the simple line, "It begins." That already told us this was a fresh continuity, and that this movie would kick off a new universe.
Yeah.
Something new. If that wasn't enough, Gunn made sure to clear things up all over social media. He said like 20 gazillion times that his Superman had nothing to do with the old ones because it was a reboot, making it crystal clear that people didn't need to watch anything beforehand to follow the story. But even if you had spent the last 6 months hiding in a cave and missed all the director's interviews and trailers, it was still pretty obvious that this was a brand new story. Gunn made a huge effort to move as far away as possible from the old DCU, both in tone and style. While Singer leaned so heavily on the old Superman that his movie felt like a remake, Gunn gave Cornsweet a bright, colorful suit to set him apart from
I say this all the time, guys. Pendulum swing, okay? It's always swinging back and forth. Like, the amount of difference from Superman to Man of Steel is crazy how different they are, even though some of y'all complain? Complain. That's not the right word. Some of y'all say that Gunn stole tons of stuff from Man of Steel. That's just called inspiration. The movie's nothing like Man of Steel. To say he stole from it is just insane. And that would be like saying that Spider-Man stole from Superman because he has, hope is who he is, and he's got red and blue. You know what I mean? Like, it's inspiration. That's all it is.
Cavill's darker look. He made his Superman more cheerful, focused on saving people, and didn't make him to a godlike figure the way Snyder did. His Lex Luthor was completely different from any live-action version we'd seen before, and even the design of Metropolis was nothing like the one from the old.
That reminds me of Smallville. I don't know, put in the comments if you get the same feeling. Also, did y'all know that Daily Planet building is, I think, the first Daily Planet building we've had where the Daily Planet ball is not in the center of the building. It's over to the side. And some of you have commented that you think that is so that she could land the T-Craft on top of it. I think that's probably true. That's probably why, because it fit.
DCU. So no one walked into the theater thinking this movie was a sequel to Man of Steel, or that Gunn had done a soft reboot by only swapping out the actor.
I've watched some reaction videos where people pop up and are like, should I have watched other movies before this? They don't know. That's because they don't know nothing.
There was a bit of confusion around Peacemaker before Superman dropped. After the first episode of Season 2, it was clear that Gunn reset everything. That Justice League scene in Peacemaker never happened.
Pretend like it never happened.
Pretend the whole thing never happened.
Never happened.
Never happened.
But by mid-July, it still wasn't clear how they were planning to explain those contradictions in the canon. In upcoming video...
Put it in the comments if you're watching Peacemaker. I will not be. It just, from the stuff I've heard, it does not sound like my kind of humor. It doesn't sound like my kind of show I'd watch. I like to watch stuff with my family. Apparently, this is not something you can watch with your family. I watch very little TV outside of, YouTube videos and stuff. And, usually when I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm working and I don't really focus on them. So
I'll break down whether Gunn handled it well or if he could have done things differently to make it clearer and avoid all the online drama. Even so, those continuity problems didn't affect how the movie was received. Your aunt didn't watch Peacemaker, so she wasn't confused by the retcon. Everyone understood they were watching a brand new Superman movie that wasn't tied to anything that came before, which always works well for casual viewers who don't want to do homework before going to the movies. And the third reason, and the most important one, is the action and the challenges each version of Superman faces. Let's not forget, these are superhero movies. Character development and deep subplots help. But let's be real, we all want to see these characters in action, using their powers. Superman Returns couldn't deliver on that, because it only has 5 action scenes, and none of them are particularly long. The first one is the airplane rescue, which is
like the top notch. It's like when a YouTube video shows you everything it has to offer the first 30 seconds. You're like, man, this is going to be a good video. And then there's nothing else in the rest of it that even matches what it was.
Probably the best moment in the whole movie.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of the shaky cam they use there, or the fact that Routh looks like a CGI doll 90% of the time. But
I thought that his CGI doll was better than the CGI doll they used in Man of Steel. I was quite disappointed with Man of Steel in 2013 when it came out because I felt like Superman Returns looked better. They did a really good job in that movie of making his CGI doll, though it was like, yeah, that's what it is. It looked like it was a real thing. Does that make sense? It looked like it was an actual person. Whereas the CGI doll in Man of Steel, I was like, oh, that cartoony thing in Smallville fighting those dudes, that was weird looking.
Admit, it's a scene packed with adrenaline and tension. It works great to show Superman as a hero who's trying to save everyone, but also that he's not all powerful, since the plane keeps breaking apart midair.
I want to show y'all what I mean.
Might not pull it off. That's done really well, but this scene doesn't happen until half an hour into the movie.
That CGI doll right there.
Before that,
looks fantastic. And then you can see the difference when it pops on.
We don't even see Superman wearing the suit. You might have fallen asleep before the good part even showed up. Kind of like what happens with One Piece.
Boring.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with how long it took to see the suit in that movie because I felt like we did need to have a little bit of a recap and understanding where we were. But we did see him in that silver suit. You know what I mean? Whenever his mom caught him. So it wasn't, Yeah.
A little later, there's a short montage of Superman saving people. It looks like Singer is finally going to show off his powers, especially with this one really awesome shot. But right after that, things slow way down again. We literally have to wait a whole hour to see Superman do anything. The next time we see him in action, he's saving people again, this time in Metropolis. I love how he has to use all his powers to fix the pipes and stop the Daily Planet globe from falling.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I like how he used all of his powers, and I like how they did saving montages. That's what Superman needs. That's why it did so good with the Kaiju fight in Superman 2025. It really showed his character. I've watched a lot of reaction videos, like I've said, and those people during that scene, they're just like, he just wants to save everyone. They're like, he has to do good. He has to do the right thing. It's true.
The action gets a bit repetitive, and it takes way too long to get back to Superman doing superhero stuff. Luckily, right after that, we get a pretty solid scene where Luthor's goons beat up a powerless Superman. But then the third act is super weak again, because all Superman does is pick up one really big thing and throw it into the sun, in a scene that literally lasts 2 minutes. Not only does Superman Returns have very little action for a movie starring the most powerful superhero in the world, but the action scenes are super spaced out. and we never see Superman facing any serious threats. Other than the scene where they make him eat dirt, we don't see him go one-on-one with any villain who can challenge him. Instead, we just see him dealing with accidents and natural disasters,
I like that.
which is fine for some random filler comic issue.
Golden Age, he definitely, would fight villains, but that was always like, yeah, he's going to have no trouble with that. So there would be challenges like this to make you kind of get more anxiety about it. Those little moments where he would fight the bad guys was just always to give you the sense of like, oh yeah, my boy's powerful here. Then they'd throw on this stuff in the Golden Age and show, not like spaceships, but they'd throw on, feats of strength or it was like, I don't know what his limits are. I don't know how far he can go. And they do two things at once. It's like, can he do it both? So it'll give you the sense of that superpower. He can do anything and then make you wonder. It was great.
But for a movie people had waited 19 years
Sorry
for,
about the Golden
it just
Age,
didn't
not
feel
necessarily
like
this
enough.
movie.
The level of action in Superman Returns is what you'd expect from an episode of Superman and Lois. In that case, it's forgivable, because that show had a budget of 5 sticks of gum and 4 pieces of candy. So it makes sense that it leans
It had the, I think, highest budget in CW history. I don't know what he means by that.
is more towards soap opera than a full-on Superman power fest. But Superman Returns cost $200 million, almost double what Gunn's Superman cost, and that's without even adjusting for inflation.
Business. Numbers. Is this working?
Because of that lack of action, people thought the movie was super boring, especially compared to other films from that era.
I don't know that I've heard many people tell me it was boring. Maybe that is what they think. I don't know.
Batman Begins or Spider-Man 2. Those movies had better pacing, were more entertaining, and featured villains the hero actually had to fight.
Spider-Man 1 was awesome, which only came out a few years before Superman Returns. But Spider-Man, I loved it. And when I look back at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's not that good. I'm like, I don't know. I like the first one a lot.
Face to face. Gunn's Superman, on the other hand, really made the most of Superman's powers and showed him in action constantly. We see Superman suited up right from the very first scene, instead of waiting around for 30 minutes. And he starts flying literally at the 7-minute mark. Right after that, we get a short fight with the Hammer of Baravia, which gives us 2 meta-humans going at it, something we didn't get even once in Superman Returns. The second action scene shows up just 15 minutes later. We see Superman and the Justice Gang taking on a kaiju in a scene that's super fun. Maybe not as intense as the airplane sequence, but it gives us some real superhero team-up moments, and we get to see Superman saving people. A little later, there's the...
Yeah, because that scene wasn't necessarily about intensity as it was about showing you the character of Superman, and it did amazing. In Superman Returns, they showed you the character of Superman in other scenes. After that plane scene, actually.
Long take with Mr. Terrific and the scene in the Anti-Proton River. Plus, the last half hour is packed with action. Instead of just watching Superman lift a big rock, we see him saving people, going up against Ultraman and the Engineer, and taking down Luthor's entire army. The battle's long, but it never feels slow or repetitive, because the setting keeps changing, and the pace of the fight keeps shifting. At first, it looks like Superman's gonna win easily, since he beats the Engineer and Ultraman at the stadium. But then they shove nanites down his throat, and he has to fly up and crash into the ground to
Spoilers.
get them out. After that, he fights Ultraman across half the city, and finally takes down Luthor's goons in one of the coolest long shots James Gunn has ever done. I'm not even counting how the Justice Gang stops the army.
It is interesting how people complain about him spinning and people love him spinning. It must be a preference thing, because if you just go by simply, is that a cool shot? It's pretty cool.
Army of Baravia, because that scene is super short, but any of those scenes is way more memorable than the action scenes in Superman Returns. Even the biggest...
His stuff on his eyes, I remember people complaining saying, oh, he gets his eyes hurt in this one. No, he doesn't. He just got shot in the eyes. Man of Steel, however, whenever he had to use his laser vision, he had to readjust his eyes, and sometimes it caused more problems than it was worth, like when he laser-eyed that beam that Zod did at him, and then, he had to readjust his eyes and he got hit.
Haters of Gunn's Superman can't deny that the movie is a blast, has great pacing, and just flies by. Unlike Singers, which was kind of a snooze, so it makes total sense that people liked it more, it got better reviews, and it made a lot more money. But if this new Superman is...
What made more money?
Total sense that people liked it more, it got better reviews, and it made a lot more money.
More than... I forgot. We're talking about Superman Returns here. Yeah, okay.
But if this new Superman is so good, why didn't it hit $1 billion like some fans were hoping?
I never thought it would.
This video.
Okay, so let's talk money.
I thought it was possible, but I never thought that it was for sure going to hit $1 billion. Like, I absolutely thought it's possible, but I don't see it. I mean, y'all can go back at my old videos and see. I never really thought it was going to hit $1 billion. I never gave you a number. But I will say I did think it would hit 700,000. I kind of thought that 700,000 would be where it would go. And it didn't quite make it, but we're still running. And, we obviously aren't going to make much at the end here, but they did digital so early compared to what Man of Steel did. Like, I'm not a movie guy. I'm a Superman guy. So I get involved in the stuff when Superman's involved, and the world's changed a lot since the last Superman movie. You know, it's changed a lot. Things have happened. And so it's a totally different environment. And I find it really interesting. Guys, let me know what you think. Remember to look for Mr. Headcanon's link in the description. Look for my store as well. And also, don't forget to check out another one of my videos. One of them has nothing to do with the new movie.